Well, I was just airbrushed this morning, so alright.
I've never used a trigger style of airbrush, and to be honest, I thought I'd hate it. But join me today as I check out the recent release Gaahleri Swallowtail from Gaahleri. I've made no secret of the fact I've been loving my Mobius 0.2mm airbrush, which is the only reason I've agreed to try out their Swallowtail airbrush for you here today. Complete transparency, yes, Gaahleri sent me the airbrush, but as always, I can promise you, you get an honest impression with no expectation from the supplier. The Swallowtail was released on the 31st of May 2023 and is part of Gaahlerie's Ace series lineup. This airbrush has been marketed as having an ergonomic trigger design developed to enhance ergonomics, making it ideal for extended painting sessions. The release also promotes its versatility as it caters to both fine detail work and broader applications. The boxing I have is a collaboration with US-based YouTube influencer Barbatos Rex. Barbatos Rex has built a strong following through his hands-on, honest reviews and deep experience with airbrushing and model painting. As you've been watching on the screen, the airbrush is packaged beautifully and comes with the 3 different size needle configurations. A 0.2mm for detailed work, a 0.5mm for greater coverage, and finally, the 0.7mm house nail for flood coating and greater paint flow. There are 2 cup sizes that come with it as well. There's a 1/3 ounce and a 2/3 of an ounce volume. These are considerably bigger than I'm used to. You also receive spare seals as well as a quick release fitting for your air supply. First thing I do when I get an airbrush is remove the trigger stop. This is an adjustable screw that adjusts the movement in that trigger, which will ultimately limit the amount of paint flowing through the nozzle. I find for me it just gets in the way. However, if you are new to airbrushing, it may help with controlling your paint flow. The airbrush comes with the 0.2mm needle installed and is first put to the test using the new VMS primer that I'm currently testing. The paint is poured directly into the cup and not thinned in any way. Immediate flow, and surprisingly, the trigger action felt quite natural in my hand with a good level of control, which is something I just wasn't expecting. One of the things I like about the Mobius airbrush I've been using is the ability to remove the needle and the cup for easy cleaning. A moistened cotton bud makes short work of the cleanup. Just remember to remove the needle if you want to go poking around in the end of that nozzle. So in terms of a single colour, complete coverage style of painting, the airbrush ticked the boxes, but if you have ever watched some of my build videos, you'll know I like to paint in an imperfect mottled way. So I loaded the cup with an AK Real Colour lacquer, thinned it with Tamiya retarder thinner to around 30% thinner to 70% paint. And again, to my surprise, not only was the paint flow and application predictable, but the way it felt in my hand seemed very natural and very comfortable. The way I was holding it wasn't something I'd actually considered, it was just pretty much how my hand landed on the tool. My pointer finger was lined up with the target and my middle finger was controlling the trigger. I'd love to know how other people are using this, so let me know in the comments down below if you have any experience with this trigger style of airbrushing. I found the cups that come with this package a little big for the way I paint, but I was pleased to see the smaller cup from my Mobius airbrush just screwed in place. My philosophy is the less paint on the model, the better. I find the smaller cup is easier to gauge the amount of paint in it and easier to clean up. So if you're looking at this boxing, I'd recommend you picking yourself up a smaller cup to complement it. Applying camouflage freehand is one of the joys of airbrushing. So again, I went for the AK Real Colour paint and I applied a basic freehand pattern in the same way I would using the traditional style of airbrush. As a further exercise in control, I practiced painting within the lines with very little trouble in doing so. But I really wanted to dial this test up, so I went next level. A post-shading technique is a lot of fun to apply and can look absolutely amazing, but it does require a high degree of control in order to execute it properly. A heavily thinned mix of AK clear smoke and rot brawn is mixed into the cup. This is thinned to about 90% thinner, 10% paint. And because the paint is so thin, control of this paint is paramount because too much paint on the surface will cause it to spider and pool. I'm working the shading over panel lines and rivets, as well as adding effects around the camouflage pattern I just created. Creating these freehand camouflage patterns is one thing, but the ability to follow that exact same line is another, and surprisingly, I found this incredibly natural. Creating vertical streaking is another thing I like to do with my airbrush, and this again was on par with anything else that I'd used. As I mentioned, the kit comes with 3 needle sizes, and you can clearly see the difference between the 0.28 and the 0.7 needle. Obviously the 0.5 is somewhere in the middle of those two. To change them out is a relatively easy process and begins with carefully removing the needle. You then remove the nozzle cap, and this is unique to each of those needle sizes. Because these caps are specific to each needle, Gaahleri suggests this will reduce the dead zones where paint might splutter and spray unevenly, as well as helping reduce dry tip. You can see the engineering and design of the nozzle. This is a drop-in element that requires no special tool to remove, which simplifies the cleaning process as well as the changeover. The 0.7mm needle literally hosed the paint on, and I went through it extremely quickly. The difference was astounding, but the coverage it gave was very good. This needle would be perfect for those of you looking for excellent coverage in a single color application, or of course it would be perfect for varnish applications. The trigger style of airbrush isn't a new concept, and I was almost certain I wasn't going to like it, but this turned out to be an unexpectedly enjoyable experiment for me. After trying this and feeling how naturally it sat in my hand, I have to say I have completely changed my tune here. It gave me an excellent level of control, and the 3 needle options really gives the modeler a tool for just about any modeling application. I wouldn't completely swap my Mobius 0.2 out for this, but I can see myself using the 2 tools together depending on the style of application. Gaahleri are offering viewers of this channel a generous 13% discount, so check out the show notes below to see how you can claim that. This review comes as my honest opinion and has in no way been influenced by Gaahleri. I honestly know you will love the airbrush as much as I have. And can I ask a small favour? If I've added some value today, please hit the like button, as it really helps me out a lot. And if you would like more of this type of content, you could always consider subscribing. Remember guys, this is the greatest hobby in the world. Share it with your family and share it with your friends, and let's be proud of what we do. Until next time, I will see you soon.
Well, that went better than I thought it would.